Testing, mic 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Welcome to the annual discussion video. My name is Manga Writer. Oh yeah. Fuck it, I'm gonna keep this in the video. Comfort. It's a thing that everybody likes to have. Comfort is where you feel at ease with yourself, and being comfortable can extend itself into your everyday life. Comfort can also be exemplified to the internet and the world of social media. Let's say you just watched a movie and you really enjoyed it, so you tell your followers your opinion about the movie on Twitter and get the same opinions you have thrown back at you. This makes you feel validated inside and thus makes you feel more comfortable with your opinion. Now let's say this keeps happening. You follow more people who align with you, you converse with more people who align with you, you make friends with people who align with you. If this keeps going, eventually, you will reach a stage where the world around you is getting a little samey. You've heard this opinion being spouted by everyone you follow. Hell, you've heard this opinion just 2 tweets ago, but you don't think too much about it because it's an opinion that you like, so you simply brush off that nagging feeling and go back to scrolling. What if I was to tell you that that nagging feeling you got for a few seconds was a warning? And what if I told you that by ignoring this warning, you're unintentionally starting to damage yourself? Dear viewer, that little feeling you got was your brain finally waking up to find out that it's living in one of the most toxic lifestyles to ever exist. That lifestyle is the echo chamber. So what is an echo chamber? According to the internet, an echo chamber is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternate ideas are not considered. However, that's not what an echo chamber is, technically. This description that you find on Google is actually a better description of what we would call an epistemic bubble, which is a term used to describe people who are only exposed to opinions that fit with theirs. In other words, an epistemic bubble is a comfortable lifestyle. A person in an epistemic bubble lives in a world where they experience nothing but praise for their lifestyle. Anytime they mention their opinion, the bubble ensures them that they are right in thinking the way that they do, and it's great. Why bother trying to challenge your beliefs if they're right to begin with? Why even question your standards if the standards keep telling you that you are right? Why bother at all? After all, you've been told that you're a good person. Right? At first glance, this lifestyle does not sound like a bad idea. In a world that social media tells us is in a constant state of near collapse, finding people to share opinions with you is something that you tend to justifiably be happy with. Your opinion now feels like it has more reach, and because you two agree on this issue, you will form a small bond with that person, whether you know it or not. Hell, you may even start making friendships thanks to this approving lifestyle. And it's this constant approval of one's beliefs that begins turning something that was pretty small at first into ravaging itself into something dangerous, and in some cases, it can cause someone to have beliefs that could possibly never be reversed. So before we get all philosophical, let's start with being technical. How exactly does an epistemic bubble form? An epistemic bubble's best place to manifest itself is of course on social media. Sites like YouTube and especially Twitter are famous for being the homes of the worst epistemic bubbles out there. And the reason for that is how the sites are programmed. YouTube's main goal is to make money, and one way to help them do that is to keep you on the site for as long as possible. So how do they do that? Simple. The algorithms track what kind of videos you watch and will change to best suit your interests as you keep watching. Thus, you'll be more inclined to watch more videos about a certain topic told in a certain way for far longer, which means YouTube makes more money. The same logic is also applied to Twitter, but instead of recommending you content, Twitter will recommend you people who have the same opinions as you to follow, even showing their likes if what they liked coincides with their opinions. You're exposed to opinions you like, you keep scrolling, you keep following, you stay on the site, and thus, Twitter makes more money. These intentional designs on Twitter and YouTube are used to make you feel as comfortable and as happy as you can be. Your constant dopamine and endorphin releases will make you want to keep being on the sites because they make you feel welcome and above all, accepted, which makes Twitter and YouTube the money. In other words, by constantly being on these sites for comfort, you have become a bitch of capitalism. And because of the way these sites program themselves to fit a person's beliefs and opinions, they will intentionally create a small bubble for you to fit into, so you can keep scrolling and not care about being manipulated for profit. I mean, after all, you did just find your people. So now that I've discussed the technicalities on how a bubble is formed, let's get to the psychology. What actually happens to a person that falls into this trap? Well, a few things will ensue. One is ignorance. Ignorance is a trait that people always start off with, and it's a thing that can be greatly enhanced if a person gets trapped in a bubble. It is well known that a person always benefits when they're exposed to a situation and can see both arguments, as it allows them to more effectively come to their own conclusion. However, when trapped inside an epistemic bubble, the second option is not there to even be acknowledged, meaning that a person with ignorance will just automatically assume that the only option they see is the one all to end all and just go with the flow. They don't question the reasoning because, well, they're too ignorant to know what to argue against because they haven't seen the opposite side. Because to them, it doesn't even exist. Another thing that could happen to a person is denial. And this is where an epistemic bubble fades and where an echo chamber starts to form. What makes an epistemic bubble and an echo chamber different is that an echo chamber is able to see the opposite side of an argument rather than not seeing it at all. However, despite being able to see, read, and hear the other side, people in an echo chamber will just deny the arguments and keep on saying that they're right, even when evidence that completely denies that are brought to the surface. Flat earthers, racists, sexists, and Holocaust deniers are prime examples of this. Denial is a terrible thing, but that's not the worst thing that can happen. If this behavior within an echo chamber keeps going unchecked, if people inside the little bubble keep denying flaws in their thinking, their beliefs, and their opinions, this amount of denial will sometimes make some people reach the final and worst stage of this lifestyle. And that is radicalization. This is the stage where a person becomes way too invested in what they believe in. The other side is denied and sometimes even attacked for even having an opposing viewpoint to the bubble. Conversation is thrown to the wayside in exchange for jabbing and mockery, even violence and threats. The other side is wrong, but we are right. We must spread our word to as many people as possible and shun and sometimes even kill those who go against the narrative. Examples include old Christianity and old Islam with homosexuality, and pretty much every cult you can imagine. I know that this video so far has sounded very political, but don't let that be the main thing you get out of this video, because echo chambers aren't solely a political thing. You can also find awful echo chambers in fan bases of any kind of media. We've seen this in Steven Universe, we've seen this in Star Wars, we've seen this in Sonic, we've seen this in art, where both sides of the spectrum have their own little bubbles that regurgitate the exact same opinion 24/7, and when they see criticisms towards their opinions, hell shall break forth. And the fighting ensues, and doesn't stop. After explaining what could possibly happen to an innocent person when they get trapped into an echo chamber, why do echo chambers still exist? What good comes out of a place that has the ability to brainwash you into a more radical version of your past self? From my perspective, there's two answers. For one, echo chambers can result in you having increased confidence with who you are. If you're in an environment that does nothing but support you for what you do, your previous anxiety to share your opinions will gradually lessen, and might even reach the stage where you state your beliefs loudly and proudly. And it's pretty much fact to say that everybody likes to have confidence in how they live. My personal experiences were in making reviews and being in drama, where most of the time I was praised for what I did, and because of that, it has resulted in me being more passionate about what I make. No one wants to live a life that makes them constantly scared to say something in case they're wrong about what they believe. So an echo chamber, in their eyes, can supply a great place to say those opinions without being judged. And when put like that, it's something I completely understand, and it's something I can even sympathize with. There's nothing wrong with not wanting backlash for being who you are. That's just human nature. If I have an opinion on something and I get mindlessly attacked for what I believe in, that's not really going to make me question anything, is it? And my second answer is the one that has been going through almost this entire video. Echo chambers have the power to be a source of comfort for people. No one wants to go online and be constantly told that their existence is something to be ashamed of, and always be told that their way of thinking is wrong and inhumane. People would rather go to a place where they know that people with similar feelings are waiting to welcome them in open arms. And that's okay. I can't tell you that Twitter makes you uncomfortable if it doesn't. I can't tell you that the content you like makes you uncomfortable when it doesn't. I can criticize your way of living, absolutely, but I can't take away your comfort if the way you live your life makes you happy. Unless you're a racist, in which case, don't stop that. Don't do that. Come on, sit down, let's have a chat. The only thing that I'm suggesting to these people who live in these bubbles is to just be sensible. Your own bubble may seem welcoming and it is exactly what you want, but if you keep staying in it, it's only going to make it harder for you to get out of the bubble and into the real world. Life is never going to be sunshine and rainbows like your bubble. Life is harsh, it's complicated, and it can be very cruel. And it's something that you won't be able to cope with if you just stay in the bubble. The way I would go about using a bubble is to treat the bubble like alcohol. It's there if I ever want to feel great for a few moments, but going back to it continuously to a point where it takes over my life, that's not something I want to happen. If I be responsible with it, I'll be alright. And if you're responsible with it, you'll be alright. As I went through writing this video, I slowly realized that the way I was describing echo chambers is also how people would describe a thing called safe spaces. And now that I just mentioned it, I do feel like this is a topic that's worth briefly mentioning because I do have a thought on safe spaces. I want to first start off with saying that I don't agree with the whole safe spaces are always bad point that a lot of people tend to make, because I don't think that's inherently true. If a certain group of people want a space where they can feel like they aren't in any danger and can be as open as they like without fear of violence or discrimination, that's a mindset I completely understand. The only real problem I have with safe spaces personally is that, like my last point, I feel like it has the power to become something bad if people in that safe space aren't sensible and start abusing it, always going back to it when a minor inconvenience happens to them, because that can inherently be addictive and can be toxic. That's pretty much my take on safe spaces, but back to the video. So even despite me saying the negatives and the positives on echo chambers and addressing both sides, some people watching this video may not want to even be near one. Period. So if you're one of those people, how can you live your life in a way that makes sure you don't end up falling into social media's trap and falling into an echo chambered mindset? Well, the solutions are actually quite easy. One step is to just follow people you disagree with. This will trick the sites into showing you more content that is different to what you're comfortable with, allowing your mind to be exposed to all sides of a situation so you can come to your own conclusion and be able to understand both ways of thinking. If you watch YouTubers like Armored Skeptic, then watch someone like ContraPoints. If you watch someone like Mahler, watch someone like Jack Saints. A diverse palette in content completed with many different takes from all sides is a healthy way to get your brain thinking about your thoughts and moral compass, so it can spot contradictions and even misconceptions that you never gave much thought to. Doing this will make you really think about what you stand for, and if you're lucky, or unlucky depending on who you are, you may even go through some good old cognitive dissonance to make yourself become a more understanding person. However, I don't suggest following toxic people, because they never add anything to discussion no matter how right or wrong they may be. Understand what a toxic person is and you'll be fine. Another step you could take is to actually sit down and talk to people who disagree with you. I know the internet is fun for watching debates and stuff like that, but debates on the internet is mainly done for entertainment purposes, and sometimes gives the YouTuber the chance to type a fancy title to show that they owned the opposite side, meaning that your mindset going into the debate is somewhat tainted whether you know it or not. So if you really want to learn and grow, it's best to just do discussions yourself. Find someone who will have a conversation with you, meet on middle grounds, and just talk things out and be civil. You may not agree with what the other person is saying at all, and you could even say that the conversation didn't change your mind, but if you actually sit a conversation out, actually listen to the other side as opposed to just name calling, maybe even going as far as to understand the other viewpoint and being respectful, then your discussions are only ever going to be productive. And who knows? You might actually help the person talking to you understand the way you feel and give them something to think about after the talk is over. I've had conversations with people about topics I disagree with, like gun control and lolicon, but I'm still on good terms with those people and I understand their issues because I was listening and I wasn't an asshole. You guys have literally no idea about how much power you have in your hands if you just be nice to people. Like, holy shit, being nice to people has done nothing but good for me. But let's say that that isn't enough. Let's say that your newfound power to not be a cunt to people reaches a stage where you want to get other people high on the power too. And this is where we come to the final question of this video. How can you get someone out of an echo chamber? And to this, there's really only one answer. You have to earn their trust. Because the final thing that makes echo chambers so toxic is that the people inside the chamber have lost trust in the people outside of it. They see these people as wrong, disrespectful, or even evil. And if you do something as horrid as bullying and throwing relentless insults, you're only contributing to the problem and proving the echo chamber right. You acting like an obnoxious asshole is only going to make the wall more difficult to break down, isolating these people even more than they already have. I know that these people sometimes don't seem like it, but the people you demonize for being in an echo chamber are also people. People with lives that are possibly way different to yours. Lives that have molded their ways of thinking, their moralities, and insecurities. The internet has cursed all of us into thinking that people can just be categorized as either black or white, and this awful way of thinking is incredibly dehumanizing. You may say that you know these people based on what you've seen, heard, or read about them, but you don't. You don't even know 10% of that person, and if you claim otherwise, get your head out of your ass. You don't know them. The little caricature that you formed inside your head is not the person you're thinking it is. There's a person behind that account. A person that has to deal with their own problems and has a history far more complicated than a YouTube video or a Twitter thread will ever be able to represent. They have their own lives and they have their own struggles, just like you. People offline are very different to people online. Someone you may see as a piece of shit is probably the best functioning member of society, and you would know that if you actually went outside and got to know some of these people. Bullying people for their opinions can have the ability to change someone for the better, sure, but in 99% of cases, bullying only leads to more insecurity and less willingness to step outside of the chamber to understand the other side. And when you get them trapped in that mindset, you're possibly the most toxic person they will ever meet. The people inside echo chambers aren't inherently bad people. They're just too convinced that they're right. So stop thinking of them as lesser than you, because they really aren't. So when you approach these people, approach them in a way that lets them know that you're not contacting them to try attack them, but rather to inform them. Peace is the only way to helpfully move someone forward in life, so lower your anger and reach a gentle hand out to the people you want to help escape this mindset. They may smack away at first, some may even never give you the light of day and just stay in the chamber, but if you just remain calm, peaceful, and rational, someone inside the chamber is going to step out. And when that day happens, it's up to you to make their leap a one that was worth it, and not have them think that their decision to talk to you was a giant mistake. My name is Manga, and if you want to contribute into making this disgusting world a more peaceful and better place for everybody, take a seat, listen, and talk things out.